Okay, welcome back to the Physique Academy podcast. Today I'm joined by big Matty Carlisle. How are we doing, brother?
Very good, thank you.
He is a big lad, isn't he? He's got the fresh trim as well.
Well, it's not fresh enough.
How long have you had that for, bro? I don't remember you having that.
No, it's been a year progress, this mullet now.
Yeah, progress. Yeah. I've started getting a taper fade. I used to get a skin fade up to here. Now I like it a little bit longer because I get that bad skin in the back of my head, so it's a little bit too aggressive for me.
Yeah.
But anyway, bro, thanks for coming down. Today's podcast is going to be again, similar to the other podcasts, how they've been about your backstory, getting into Physique Academy. And obviously you're very much into bodybuilding style training. So I want to touch on some specific elements within bodybuilding style training. But let's start off, mate, with what led you to Physique Academy. For those of the audience that don't know, me and Matt actually worked at the same company prior to Physique Academy, David Lloyd Leisure. I was at a different branch. I was at Chorley. Matt was at Bolton, but I did work with his brother, Ben. But what sort of led you from David Lloyd, mate? How long had you been a personal trainer, one-to-one in person? And then what led you to more online with Physique?
Yeah, good question. So I PT'd at David Lloyd Bolton for around 6 years, I believe, in total towards the end. When I decided I wanted to become a personal trainer, I was trying to find what the best solution would be, either that be renting a space or working at a commercial gym. When I found obviously the David Lloyd model, it worked for me as a starter model. But I think after working there for a while, the gym floor setting of being there, 7 a.m. till 12, back then again from 4 till 7 in the evening, wasn't going to suit me long term. And then once I dabbled in the online space and saw how well Physique Academy was doing, I decided I wanted to kind of get on board with that. Mm-hmm. Obviously knowing George as being a Horwich lad as well, I contacted him. And just obviously talked about the idea of joining. And yeah, it's been a great fit ever since.
How is it you knew George originally?
Just from being the same town. I think other guys who go to the gym tend to know other guys in that town. We weren't necessarily friends or anything, but we knew of each other. And I think because he would sometimes pop into David Lloyd, I think his mum and dad were members there and stuff. So when he came into the gym, we had a conversation once about the potential of coming on board. And I think it was 3 or 4 months later, then I decided to obviously reach out and do that.
It's funny because it was actually a similar situation with me. He came into David Lloyd in Chorley. We did a training session, and then he just said it's there if you want it. But obviously then at that time, it was just a lot more focused on. I mean, we're still heavily focused on the coaching, but now it's like a proper business, isn't it? We've expanded the team. It's not just coaches. We have marketers, copywriters, lead gen. People that work in other areas of the business, but obviously we just focus on what we're doing. But the biggest change in your style of coaching now, would you say that's evolved and adapted quite a lot since your end of your David Lloyd days to where you're at now after the last few years of being in Physique?
Yeah, definitely. I think I actually think online coaching you get better results.
I agree.
I think with in-person training you can become in that habit of just right, you pay me for the best session ever, but what are you doing for the rest of the week? If you're not, assessing the diet, the life schedules, I think you need to control all the variables to get true results. And I think that's what online training allows you to do. In-person training, one-on-one, you probably can't do that. And if you do that, maybe the price you've got to offer to give everyone that stuff is more difficult. But I would say since becoming an online coach, I get better results. I've got a better work-life balance. That's probably one of the reasons why I did join.
Mm-hmm. What was it appealing?
Yeah, I became a dad 2 years ago, and I just thought that lifestyle I had there wasn't going to work for me long term. Could I be 40-year-old, 45-year-old doing that? And when I asked myself that, I thought, no, I can't. So that's why I wanted to get into the online space. And since I've tasted that now, I don't think I could ever go back to being a one-on-one personal trainer. I think that from a selfish aspect of the lifestyle I have, plus the results I get, it's a no-brainer that online PT is the way to go.
And now, working online, do you think you're able to make a lot more hands-on being a dad within the last 2 years?
For sure, yeah. I think, like I said, my schedule when I was a one-on-one trainer was 7 in the morning there till 12. that dead time in the day, I'd walk the dogs or I'd train myself. But I thought, well, me working from home now, there is obviously certain time schedules I've got to keep to, but there's a lot more flexibility now with the role, and that's allowed me to be more hands-on at home and obviously be a good dad as well.
Yeah, and this is the thing about one-to-one personal training is you work around people's 9 to 5s, don't you? Correct. So like you do like, from the gym opening at like 6 in the morning, you'll do like 6 till 9, maybe 6 till 9 PT sessions. Then you might have like 1 or 2 elderly, pensioners that are retired during the day.
They're the clients you want, the ones who can fill your gaps in.
Exactly, bro. Yeah, throughout your day. Yeah, and then you'll have like 5 till 9 or 5 till 10 in the evening, and that's something like, again, with like group exercise classes for me teaching Blaze and stuff. Like it's literally like the same sort of thing, because during the day it's like off-peak times, so like you'll have like the screen monitor where there's like 1 or 2 people, then the packed ones where they're instructor-led are in the evening. But that's sort of like, the benefit of one-to-one personal training versus online coaching. Like some people, when I have like initial consultation calls, they might already be working with a personal trainer, and they'll sort of ask like, what am I going to get more from this than I wouldn't get from like a one-to-one personal trainer? And I sort of phrase it in the sense of like, if you work with 40 different people, or let's say you do 40 hours, it might be like 25 people that do 2 sessions a week, and you do 40 hours on the gym floor. That's 40 hours that you're spending inside a gym each week, which takes away time from check-ins, which takes away time from updating training and nutrition plans. So it is literally just about really the session. That doesn't mean that people there isn't any benefit to it. I think there'll always be like a need for one-to-one personal training, because like for people that are more gym novices that are just getting started, they're going to need more hands-on, more of like a hands-on approach with like the training execution, the technique and the form. But yeah, I find that online coaching, you can just provide more of like a comprehensive and like complex approach. Have you found that?
Yeah, it's just more use of your time. I think if I was, a personal trainer one-on-one, if I had to then do a diet plan on the side as well, and maybe do my check-in call or go all that, I could be max with 30 clients probably, whereas working online, I can work with more people, give them everything that they need, and cut out all the stuff. Sometimes when you're training a client, although you're with them for an hour, there's this time within that where you're doing nothing really. You're having a chat, you're having a catch up, and it becomes a bit like where you build a relationship with that client where they become a friend, and it's a social thing for them as well.
Sociability,
as much as you want to give them a good session, but it's just not good use of your time. Like once you've kind of taught them how to train properly, they don't need you there to do that, but then they need you to guide them through all the rest of the stuff. So it's just better use of your time.
Yeah, like after a certain amount of time, after like 6 months, once they've learned all the movements that you can take them through, like the fundamentals, the foundations, like then it's like, what more are they going to get out of it really? And like the structure at David Lloyd is a bit shit. Like you don't get paid like monetarily. Like you don't, as PTs, you're not motivated to probably do that extra work. Like we would do, because we were passionate about obviously like helping these people, but you wouldn't get paid for like doing the additional training plans, the diet plans, doing like additional check-ins on top. Like you would get paid for just the session, and the amount that you get paid was questionable. Like the model that they've got at David Lloyd is employed, so they take more than what the person is paying, which I think it should be the other way around really. There's a lot of faults with that, and I'm not just shitting on David Lloyd, but
I think it's even worse now in terms of the model. It's changed, but
has it?
I think it's good if you're just starting out. If you like, right, I don't want to go and pay rent somewhere, it's good. I wouldn't knock it for that, but you outgrow it quick. Once you get to, if you're fully booked there, then you're thinking, well, hang on, why do I need them really? And like you said, if I was to then do extra stuff, diet plans and all that, there was no model for them to pay. Maybe they could have paid me directly, but then David Lloyd would have been, hang on, you're taking side payments for stuff that's not involved. It just is a lot of grey areas. So I think if you're an upcoming PT and you want security, it's a good starting point, but when you get good at what you're doing, you'll outgrow it pretty quick. Yeah,
100%. It's a big corporation at the end of the day. There's however many David Lloyds across Europe. At the end of the day, it's just like any other big corporation, you're seen as a number. Whereas it's good in Physique Academy that it is like a close-knit brotherhood community, where we're all mates. We're all like, we actually have direct contact with the CEO who started in the first place, whereas you never had that with David Lloyd. And that's why I started with like other are there things in David Lloyd, you know, that was probably going to be better for me, like the fitness manager role and then doing like Blaze classes on top, just because it can get really draining just like being in a gym 12 hours every single day. And having all that free time as well in between where you might only have like an hour gap to train and all that sort of stuff. But that isn't to say that I don't miss some elements of that. I always say, like, you know, it's good having the best of both worlds. Like the reason why I've been enjoying doing the podcast so much is because like I get to meet like you, Harry, Jamie, Adam, Charlie, you know, all like the lads in person. It's like one-to-one interaction, whereas like Zoom calls are great, but it's still over a computer screen.
Yeah, I do. I agree with that. I think that, but one thing that has done for me is allowed my training to be better. So if you imagine I'm at the gym 7 till 12, I go home, I've got to go back in work technically 2 hours early to train myself, but I'm not as motivated. Whereas now the gym's the highlight of my day. Like I've got that 2 hour gap in the day from work. I go to the gym. My training's probably been the best it's ever been since being an online coach as well. Whereas when you're a PT, you're trying to fit it in the gaps you've got.
Yeah.
And you maybe don't train as intensely. So I think now I'm online as well, my own training's definitely improved.
Yeah, and it's if you've got calls, then it's a little bit more like you might be on like a tight schedule. But you know, like we've got, as long as like you've got your admin tasks and they get completed in the day, you know, you can just sort of put them where you want to put them, which is those. Like, it does provide that sort of freedom and flexibility to shift things around if you need to, as well. But yeah, you know, like there is benefits to both. But going back to my initial point of like when people bring it up on initial consultation calls, I think it's very subjective to where they're currently at. You know, if they've never stepped foot in a gym, I might say, you know, you're probably better off potentially looking at like having just a few sessions and then coming to us. Like you need to maybe build just a little bit of a base, like because we have like the training videos that we do on check-in that we like get off clients, you know, to look over the form, the tempo, the execution, all that sort of stuff. But you know, like if they've never done it before and the technique's completely wrong from the get-go, they could get an injury, they could like cause a strain or something. So I that's what I would suggest if someone is like more of a gym novice, you know, if you're being like completely realistic with them rather than just hard selling it.
They need that push to get to the gym as well. I suppose, you know, if you've
got that time, if you've got that time scheduled,
if you pay to see someone in person,
you don't want to let them down.
Appointment, they'll turn up. But yeah, I think both will always exist. One-on-one will exist. I've got some clients who we have on with the online stuff here who still have a personal trainer once a week. And,
I do as well.
And they'll do the session I give them, which seems a bit funny, or I don't. He says he does that, but maybe they don't. But that personal trainer is just maybe a friend of them who they have a good relationship with. He goes there, he puts him through and pushes him them extra reps that he may not get on his own.
Yeah.
But then we're basically covering the main stuff of, right, you know, what you're eating, what you're tracking.
And then other sessions outside of that. Yeah, I've got a few guys like that. They'll do like one session a week with like a PT. I'll schedule that in the app and say, this is why, like, as long as you get enough recovery, maybe like a rest day in between. If it's like a full body session, obviously, to make sure they get enough recovery, have like a rest day before and after, and just allow them to go through that session. I've actually contacted some of the guys' personal trainers to talk over like what they'd be doing in the sessions with them as well. It's like a whole team working on like one plan.
Sometimes they can be a bit like,
yeah. I mean, well, it's down to the client at the end of the day. You know, if they're still, you know, booking in with them and they've not just like foot them off, then they're going to be fine with it, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it's just more like if I don't know if what session you're doing.
Yeah, I like start demanding, right? He needs to do this.
Not good enough that.
Yeah.
And you feed that to him, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, everyone's got their own way of approaching things. So sometimes I suppose it could get a little bit confusing, but I suppose it's how you approach it, innit?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to go over that, bro, because I feel like there's a lot of people that always sort of wonder what the differentiation is between like online coaching versus personal training, and those are the main differences, I'd say. But online coaching is mild. If you want to actually get a good transformation, online coaching is the way to go. If you have a good base already in the gym, you know.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of, especially from this area, a lot of PTs now are trying to do both, or what they are doing. If you're the model we had at David Lloyd's different, but if you was your own, you know, personal trainer in a gym, in control of your own prices, doing what you want, you could probably offer what we're offering as an online service with some one-on-one sessions as well. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing now. They're not the whole idea of pay for 10 gym sessions, that's kind of gone now, is
like
it? It's
monthly
more
subscription.
Yeah, you pay for a monthly subscription, and then within that you get 2 or 3 one-on-one sessions. So I think that's what PTs are learning. To get true results, you need to do everything that that we're doing. But I mean, if I've got a few clients who are locally, I'll meet up with and train, just for, just because I want to train them. And if I could do that, I would, with everyone. But I think most PTs now who are one-on-one are trying to do what we're doing, or not what we're doing, but what online coaching is, because that's what you need to do to get results.
Yeah.
Rather than the best session in the world, can't walk for 2 days.
It's like to say, well,
and then what you're doing for the rest of the week, if you're not eating right, you're not managing your stress or anything, then you're not going to get where you want to be. So
it's like to say that one session isn't going to, you're not going to wake up the next day and see any change. It's the accumulation over weeks and months. And that's why we've got the 6-month commitment in place, for anyone that's wondering.
Yeah.
But let's move on, bro, to like your going back to like, your journey, ex-pro footballer, used to play for Bolton.
Yeah, just around the corner.
Just around the corner, 20 minutes away. So what sort of led you from because now you're into obviously heavy like bodybuilding training. At the time when you were training in that group environment, for football, were you doing like any form of hypertrophy training at the time? Because I've seen like photos, you were a little bit more on the slimmer side, we'll say. We'll say that. Yeah.
Peter Crouch. No offense, Peter Crouch.
But yeah, what was the sort of turning point for you going into more hypertrophy? Like,
yeah, I mean, the goal for me growing up was never to be a personal trainer; it was to be a professional footballer. And I was signed by Wanderers at the age of 8, so I was there pretty much from 8 up until 19 or 20. I lose track now what it was, but essentially I went through the whole academy system, signed on when I left school. That was, in my eyes, what I was going to do. Got very close to, obviously, it becoming a reality. Now, in terms of the training style back then, I was very skinny. I think I weighed like 69 kilos and was probably body conscious of how I looked. I think within our team, I was probably one of the skinnier guys. So that was always in my mind, like, I want to be bigger. I want to, do more, get bigger and
I get pushed around on the field.
Well, that never happened though. Funnily enough, everyone thought on the pitch I was strong. I've always been strong. Even when I train now, I'm very strong, but I just didn't have a lot of muscle mass. I think I was just a bit stringy and tall. Probably didn't eat enough as well. Looking back now for what I eat now to gain weight to what I was eating back then, probably wasn't eating enough food. But that's kind of there was always in the back of my mind that I am body conscious of how I looked. So when football didn't become a reality for me, and I got an injury, I got put in the gym, and I remember going from like 69 kilos to 75, and then thinking I was like the biggest guy ever. And I thought it was mint. So that really stemmed the passion for that, and thought, well, hang on, I don't have to be skinny. If I train heavy, eat good, that's where I can go. So once I left Wanderers, decided to do my PT qualifications, but I then didn't go straight into personal training because I was a bit more like, what do I do? Like, what are the options here? I don't want to go and pay rent somewhere and then struggle for clients. And I was only like 20-year-old, so I just thought.
And as a younger PT as well, you're more apprehensive because a lot of the people that can afford personal training aren't the same age as you. The people that are 30s, 40s, 50s, because there was a bit of people that have got it all figured out and are in like full-time jobs and have, like, whereas 20-year-olds, they're just like uni students. So it's like, it's not like when I first started, like a misconception for me was like, I'm just going to get to train like all the boys, all the lads, which is in a sense, like it is that because, you're training some older guys that you get along well with. But like, I think you're a little bit more apprehensive because at that age, you're still learning to sort of interact with the older demographic a little bit, aren't you?
Yeah, I think I remember when I first started, you're thinking, how much you charging? Oh, 20 quid. Oh, can you do it for 10? All right then. And like, you know what I mean? You'd do anything at that point to start it. But I think I didn't want to fully dive into it. I wanted a bit of security. So I actually decided to work in the supplement sector instead. So I worked for a business similar to what Holland & Barrett is. It was called NutriCenter. Sorry, wrong call. And they basically sold sports supplements. So at the time, I used to watch YouTube all the time. I'd be watching Ryan Terry and all these guys. And because we sold all like the USN and the products, I would see those athletes and be around them. And that kind of thought, this is what I want to do this. Like, I want to, get into the gym. And I think the more I did training, the more people would come to me and ask for advice. And I really got clued up on supplements. So my role essentially in the shop was, if you come in, I want to gain weight, but I can't. What can I eat, or what's the difference between, US anabolic fuel, what's the difference between 100% whey? I had to basically be there as a guide, because obviously if you don't know what you're talking about when you walk in, you can pick up anything. So that was my first kind of job in fitness, I would call it, and I absolutely loved it. But it got to a point where it was just a bit of a glorified retail assistant, really, in the end. So I did my qualifications for PT while I was in that job, with the intention of some point, spilling over. But to rate it back to, obviously, from the football days, we would train with weights, but you were made to train. It was like, we'd just dick around and do this workout routine, in you go, but we'd all just mess around and probably play tennis or something instead. So it wasn't until I kind of come away from football that I really got serious with it, and then obviously ultimately wanted to make it a job, because at that point as well, my childhood growing up was very much didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do anything. So when I did leave Bolton and I was 21, it was like the first time going out to clubs and doing all that. So I kind of got into that a little bit, but it was like Monday to Friday, gym, weekend, go Bolton nightclubs or something.
Yeah.
It was like that for a bit. And then
what's it called? Levels?
Yeah, with J2 it was called.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So that was kind of my life for about 2 or 3 years. And then after a bit, I got more and more serious with it, where I thought, right, if I stop doing that at the weekends and train more effectively and stuff, then obviously I'll get to where I get to. But that's just been my journey ever since. I don't think I've not trained now for the last 15 years. It's obviously got more refined over time. I think obviously we're going to talk about this topic about obviously more, the amount of frequency I train now compared to then and the differences of that. But I basically, since I started, I just got addicted and just never stopped, and luckily made a job out of it. It kind of helped me get over the football trauma of, because I'm from Bolton, I would walk in Tesco's like a year later and they'd be like, "Oh, Matt, where are you playing now? You're not at Wanderers anymore." And I'm like, I'd hide from people because I didn't want them to say, "Oh, I'm not a footballer anymore." So it took me a good while, but what did help me was, "Oh, you don't play football, but you're jacked now," or "Oh, you're in shape now," and that kind of helped me, give me like some
pushed you on to sort of like channeling your energy down.
Yeah, give me some self-worth. And the thing with football, I mean, I didn't want to go in too much into it, but in my first year, I did very well. And my head probably got a bit bigger, thinking, right, I'm like the dog's bollocks here. I'm getting boot sponsors, agents, and talk of this club wanting me. But my second year, I didn't really progress as well. And again, it's always to do with someone's opinion of you with football. Right, if the manager likes you and he's going to play you, then he likes you. You know what I mean? You could think yourself, well, I'm good enough, but if he doesn't pick you, you can't showcase what you do.
I think it's like a case of, a lot of the time it's luck if you make it, or
timing. If you're good enough, you will truly make it to some degree. But there's so many players I've grown up with and playing with, who the ones who made it to the end weren't necessarily the best players. They just played right in that right game, and then
that's what I mean. Yeah, so like
injury at the right time.
Yeah.
And they've stayed in the game long enough. Like I should have maybe, stayed stayed at Bolton for a bit longer and not tried leaving, and then I maybe would have done well at a certain game, and then right there's your path. But what my point is football's someone's opinion, whereas with gym, you either do the work or you don't.
Yes.
And I loved that, how I'm in control of my own destiny. If I want to get bigger and grow muscle, no one can do it for me, and it's not like someone's opinion. It's just I've got to put in the work. Whereas football, to some degree, it's the manager picks you, he's got to put you in, or if he doesn't like you, you're reliant on that. And I didn't like that, because I had a few trials after and didn't get contracts, and I was just like, I know I'm good enough, do you know what I mean? But didn't get the deal, so I kind of didn't want to have someone else control my
I was gonna ask that, like, because obviously, like, football, it's a very team orientated sport, whereas obviously bodybuilding now, it's self-orientated, but it's like now you're showing up for yourself rather than somebody else.
Yeah. I do miss the team banter and stuff. I really do miss that. I think we get that a little bit through PA now, which is why I think that's another selling point of joining this team, because it's not just like if you're a Peter on your own, you're a one-man band. But as part of us now, we're very like-minded. Like, all my teammates were very like-minded, whereas now most of my schoolmates are not really gym heads like me, if you want to call them that. Whereas when I meet you or the other coaches, we're all the same. Like, we go for a meal, we're all prioritising our protein, or we want to, go to the gym and, make sure we get a workout in before we go out and stuff. So we're very like-minded. So I do miss that from the football days.
All aligned on the same sort of goal. That's like, with football, you're all aligned on, right, we're getting that ball in that net. that's the goal. Like, whereas with us, it's like, obviously we're all trying to better ourselves, but grow, like build up the team as well. But you spoke about like, when you were like 20, 21, that's when you started like dabbling in like going out in Bolton, but you were consistent Monday to Friday. Like, how important would you say that is for progress? Do you think someone can make like a good amount of progress doing that at that age? Like Monday to Friday going out, Monday to Friday being consistent with the gym, but then like Saturday night or Friday and Saturday night, going out, having a few drinks. And
it gets you so far. I think if you're new to training, it worked for me for a bit. I train Monday to Friday, arms on a Friday, legs are probably it starts at week.
A little treat for start of the weekend.
Yeah. And then it'll just get you so far. But I think if you start in the gym, you could get away with it. And I think you should, because the reason I did do it is because I'd been so football disciplined from 8. Like, I remember being on the school bus and everyone's smoking, and I was like, that'd be the worst thing ever to do that because my body's a temple type of thing. So I was very much like so fitness focused, and just being a footballer is all I want to do. So when I maybe should have probably gone out a bit more than I did, because then it was like, right, I've not experienced this now, and I've never experienced alcohol to the degree of what I was drinking and stuff. And not that I had a problem with it, but I needed to kind of get that off my chest a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like everyone needs to go through that at some point.
Yeah, because where you leave school at 18, normally that's when everyone starts going out or doing stuff, where I was at Wanderers every day. And I was thinking, well, I'm an athlete. I can't drink, or I can't eat, or I can't smoke, or I can't do drugs because, that's my job. So I obviously was sheltered from that for a good while. So when I wasn't in that environment, I did slip into it a bit, but not to any degree where it did any.
Well, it's like addiction.
Yeah,
it was never like that. It was just
I'm too
addicted to the gym to get addicted to anything else.
Exactly. So,
but I found as you get older, it swings and roundabouts, because you've always got a shoulda, coulda, woulda for something. Like I shoulda, coulda, woulda for I could have been more disciplined in this area. And I shoulda, coulda, woulda, I should have been more lax, and I should have gone out more. I should have gone to that party, but I was being too disciplined. So like, finding the right balance now. How do you sort of find that? Like, are you like 6-7 days a week, structured, resilient, disciplined, or do you still have that playtime?
I feel like my life now is like Groundhog Day. I do the same stuff every day over and over.
With food as well, actually.
Yeah, with food, with training. But you have to be that way, I think. And as much as I'll moan about it, I like it, because if I don't have that, if I'm out of sync, then suddenly I'll be like, oh, I've not had my meal now, or I'll flap a little bit, or if I go with the flow, the day doesn't run out I want it to do. So I'm very structured now with, work at this time, train at that time, walk the dogs at that time. But in terms of having a bit of fun, I do. I've got a younger brother. He'll probably watch this. I'll get him to watch this now. But he's 21 now. He likes to go to like raves and stuff. So recently I've been going to him with that. So that's been my blowout every now and then.
Yeah.
Go to a rave with him. My younger brother thinks his older brother's still cool and he's still got it. And then the thing is, it doesn't actually. It's funny because you're just dancing all night, and I don't really drink a lot of alcohol.
Just burning calories.
Oh man, 20,000 steps.
Wake up shredded.
I look shredded. I thought, so this is not too detrimental. But whereas when you were younger, it was like in the pub, 10 pints in, wake up next morning, you can't eat. So that's more detrimental. But the rave every now and then is my playtime.
And that's more my downfall, mate. I am, as like George and some of the other lads know from that holidays, I am a lager man.
Yeah.
If I go out, like, I just like a pint. I like a bit of a pint, bro. But it's not best for like nutritional value. Well, no alcohol is, but I like it. And I'm consistent with the gym the rest of the time.
Yeah, sometimes I think you've earned the right to be flexible. I say this to a lot of my clients now, like
especially in phase 2.
Yeah, phase 2, they've come round. I've said, you've earned the right now. And they'll feel guilty for it. They'll be like, oh, this weekend, Matt, I had 2 beers with my finger, and you've not gained any weight. I'm like, buzzing then. Said, you've not gained any weight. You've allowed that. You're at this point now where you've earned the flexibility for it, to be able to do that. And sometimes I don't want to post everything I exactly eat, because my clients will be like, hang on, how can you eat all that? Like, or what? But it's all, I don't make the rules. I've just earned the right to build up the muscle mass. I've done the training over years to get to that point. Do you know what I mean? So, I think you need a bit of moderation even there, because if you don't, then you're going to start resenting it. Do you know what I mean? And I know bodybuilding can be very, when you're tunnel vision, it's good to be in that zone, but then you do need a bit of fun here and there, which...
Yeah, I think the all or nothing mentality it's not good for you mentally as well. Like I've been there, like when I was at college, like weighing every single meat, carb, all my food and training every day, not going out or anything. But I was like 19. It's like actually that those are the years where you should be enjoying yourself a little bit more. Like, yes, have that time to train hard and still focus on your health and well-being goals, but just have a bit of a laugh. You don't need to be so serious about one thing.
Yeah, I do think it's good to have a period though where you do like kind of just...
I agree.
It teaches you a lot as well. I think
discipline.
Yeah, discipline. Yeah, I think there was when me and my brother did a show back in 2014, and we literally just bended everything I told him to. Like, eat that much, and I was just going off what I learned off YouTube and other people and stuff like that. I wasn't obviously as knowledgeable as I am now, but it was nice to be in that zone of being dedicated, of like, right, this is...
Because you had a goal.
Yeah. I'm going to suffer here. I'm going to get to where I want to get to. But once you've kind of gone through it, I think it gives more sustainability on the other side, because then you're like, well, I can be half of that, and then I'll still get good results. Do you know what I mean?
Touching on what you said before we actually started shooting, you'd said, what was it you said? You said something about like when you were bodybuilding, you sort of, not that you wish that you didn't do it, but it doesn't matter because you would have still done the work anyway.
Oh, at the show, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. No, so when I did one show, it was called the Miami Pro, and it was back in 2014. And at that time, I wanted to kind of probably think, right, what can I do? And most PTs who were successful or doing well were competing. So I kind of thought, well, that's what I need to do in order to make a name for myself or to get out there. So I did that, but after doing it, I absolutely hated it. I don't know if the show was the wrong one to do.
Hated like the actual going on stage, or
I think I was probably too young and not as confident enough to really like. I'd get on a stage now, but I'd only do it because I want to do like this one was like 120 people there or something, and it was like we were backstage for like 7 hours. We travelled up from London and stayed in an hotel. And me and Ben, I remember looking at each other thinking, I just want to go home now, I'm starving. And I realised that I don't need a competition or that to train and get in shape. That's what it made me realise. I thought, well, what am I doing this for? Am I doing it for monetary gain, or is it going to get me more, I don't know, more recognition? Potentially, yes, it would. But I think it just made me realise I don't need, this is just a lifestyle for me now. I'm going to train all my life. And I don't need like a competition or a set goal to do this. I'm going to do it regardless, because that's what I do.
On the other hand, though, what is the goal? What's the intrinsic motivation?
There's a sprinkle of vanity in there to look good.
I think that's within everyone. If someone denies that, you're capping.
Yeah, I think if you look good, you feel good. And I think if the times where I've not been. Maybe slacked on the diet a bit more, gained some body fat, I'm not as confident in myself, or I'm not as eager to train. But when you look good, you want to train more, you want to be in the gym, you want to do more social media content for your job. So I think you training and looking a certain way is a main driver. One, because I was basically grew up playing sport, I need something to do it. If I didn't do that, I don't know what I'd do. I'd have to do some other type of sport. I don't know what other sports really would have ticked my boxes, really. I played a bit of cricket as a kid, but I couldn't find myself doing that much, at this age now. Never really got into golf. I didn't really see that as an exerting type of stuff. It's more of a social thing. So I was like, well, what if I don't do football, what can I do? And I think training in the gym just give me that buzz, and also the vanity aspect of I'll look how I want to look.
Yeah.
Whereas I always thought like, I was skinny, but I always would look at some guy who's muscular and think, well, that's how I want to look. And then when I realised you can look that way if you want to, that's obviously why I decided to, to do one.
And again, it's something that money can't buy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, and for you, it's a catalyst, I'd say, for like affecting everything else, other areas in your life, like your work ethic in the gym, your work ethic with work, content, everything like that. Yeah.
For sure.
What position did you play in football?
So I started off, so I'm left-footed.
I'm as well. Left-footed are the best. Messy.
So I started off as like we had to play the same formation as the first team did. So I played the left of a 3 in the middle. So we used to play with a holding midfielder. So that would have been Campo, Hierro, whoever it was. and then obviously 2 either side. So I was the left attacking of that. But then I played that all through my youth. I was like a goal scoring midfielder. But when I left school and signed on, they put me in at left back because there was an injury to one of the players. So then I played left back, and it was like, you see Trent now. Trent was a centre mid. He's gone right back. It's so easy when you go from midfield to full back. You've got the whole picture in front of you. So I did really well there. So then I stayed left back, and I basically was like the reserve left back at Wanderers. This is obviously when Gardner was there, Samuel. So I would have been like, 4th, 5th choice left back in that team. And that's where I stayed. But I think it was looking now, if I was to play at the highest level, that's probably the position that I would have played. But I could play anywhere. I played centre half quite a few times. Played obviously left wing, left centre mid, so anywhere along that left flank really.
And do you think playing like the centre mid, it's like you need to be more aerobically like fit, endurance, like rather than like being in defence? Because in midfield, you're tracking the forwards, but you're also tracking for the defence as well.
Yeah, I think truly the hardest position on the pitch is centre mid.
Yeah,
that's the hardest position to play because your head's got to be on a sixpence all the time looking around.
Yeah.
If you've never played football and I put you centre mid, you'll
fall off.
You won't even want to receive the ball.
No.
So knowing what football is now, if you go at full back, I can see everything. So no one's ever behind me, so I'm not like having to check behind me or anything. So centre mid is the hardest, not just physically, but obviously, the best players in the world are centre mids. Do you know what I mean? Because I always say Gerrard was a centre mid. You could put him centre half, right back, right wing. He could play anywhere. Whereas, if you put a centre half, centre mid, or centre half on the wing, they wouldn't even know like they could play football. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all built to that position. So, but I mean, these days all players are athletes, aren't they? They've all got
Yeah. I was always a winger. Me, I just hoof it down the wing, just pace, bro, sprint.
When I left Bolton and I went just kicking around with my mates, obviously I was at peak fitness for football, for speed and everything, and that's all I just did. You didn't realise the difference in physicality at that point, and it's more agility. I could just get the ball and I'd just go right past you. It was just like, because obviously they're not used to accelerating at that speed and changing direction.
Like the general public, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm playing Sunday League with my mates. And it's like, I can't believe how easy this is. Do you know what I mean? But it wasn't a case of, because I can't do anything technical with the ball. I could just get the ball and run past them and no one could keep with me. Do you know what I mean? It's like you see a Adama Traore players, like physicality can really excel you, but at the top level, they're all that these days. But I think if you've got that, and then it makes things a lot easier.
And what, like the training that you were doing then, because there might be one or two like aspiring football, you never know, aspiring football players, like your training then, was it more like explosive plyometric movements?
Yeah, as I got more advanced up into like the first team reserves, especially when Big Sam was there, he was very much into all that, getting everyone explosive and doing all that stuff. I think now it's bigger than it was. We're just to give people a time reference here, I was at Wanderers as a pro from 2007 to 2009. So we're talking a long time ago now. But now I think every team's got that in their arsenal. But the one thing I wish I did more, which I think I'm leaning onto weights now, is I wish I'd have trained with like weights on my ankles or weights on my...
Or like a weighted vest.
Yeah, a weighted vest. But played like the training matches with it on. And then it's like Dragon Ball Z. Do you watch Dragon Ball Z?
I actually haven't,
So Goku has like this weighted kind of vest on, and he trains. So he's fighting this guy, and they're pretty evenly matched. He goes, right, and he takes his vest off, and obviously for the cartoon, it must weigh like a ton or something. Like he leaves go of it, and he goes through the floor. It's that heavy. But then he's so quick after it because he's so. But I always thought the same thing. If I played football with weights on my feet, weighted vest on, and that felt like the norm. When I took it off for game day, I'd be like an absolute gazelle everywhere. So I felt like if I was to go back in time now, I'd try that and just see.
Surely if you were like going for a strike though, because you're used to having weights on ankles, you just absolutely rock it.
You might be difficult like that, or you control the ball and you lose your touch. But yeah, I felt like experimenting with that. But these days, they're doing it's more injury prevention than anything. That's what most of it's for now.
Did you get more injuries playing football, or I imagine than obviously what you do now for strength training? Because obviously that is very explosive, agile movements, whereas obviously bodybuilding training, hypertrophy training, it's slow, controlled
Yeah, no,
contractions.
I didn't. Touch wood, I didn't get a lot of injuries, but I was young. I was like a kid, so I probably might have later on in my career started to get more. Do you know what I mean? You tend to find players who come on the scene at 18, 20, they don't have injuries, and then later on in their life, like Owen was like unreal, wasn't he? And then he couldn't keep his hamstrings in check. So maybe I would have seen more thingy, but definitely you more at risk of getting injured from football and bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is very, very safe. It's straight line stuff. It's slow and controlled. I think something like maybe CrossFit or powerlifting, you're at more risk of injury. I think bodybuilding as a sport's very safe. A lot of the time it's just, you can use machines, you can, do isolation movements. If you can't move it, you drop it. It's only kind of, if you're pushing past your capacity, then things pop and go. But I think that's like at the top level where these guys are just, maybe guys who are taking certain stuff that has accelerated the strength and the joints have not kept up with it. That's where you tend to see it in bodybuilding.
Or like try and progressively overload it too fast.
Yeah, or guys who just jumped on a lot of gear and they're suddenly like strong as an ox, but the joints,
the tendons and ligaments haven't adapted fast enough.
So that's where you sometimes see injuries. But yeah, I was pretty.
Yeah, and that's why I'm sort of transitioning more into my roots of bodybuilding again, because I've trained now for 10 years, like strength training since the age of like 14, 15.
Yeah.
And when I started to get into more like high rocks, I'd say like in the last year and a half, 2 years maybe, and starting to do more running, I just became like more fatigued. I felt like I was overtraining a little bit more. I started to get more injuries. Like I started getting like more problems with my knees. Like I had like a hamstring strain recently. So that's why I'm just like, is it really worth, for the amount of like impact that I'm putting on like my joints, is this actually really worth it? And do you think you'd get more into like running again or cardio? Not
It's funny because I probably about a year ago decided to do a bit more running. I think I got a bit bored of bodybuilding. I think I probably got to a point where I was like, yeah, I'm just training and staying the same here really. If I eat a bit more food, I could probably get a bit stronger, but I was looking pretty similar. So I started a lot of running, and quickly my ability for running came back quick. I think I was just throwing myself every week. I'd go out, I'd get faster and faster. So I know that genetically that's what I'm probably quite good at doing. If I just did high rock stuff now, I think I'd be really, really good at it. But I know that my body would just shrink, because that's what it did. It just basically, I couldn't lift as heavy, especially on like weight days and train. I think naturally, because I've got a very high metabolism, I would under fuel quite easily as well. Like right now, I just bodybuild, don't do any weights, don't do any cardio and walk, and I need just to sustain my weight. I need to eat like 4,500 calories.
Really?
Just to stay.
Oh yeah, I saw you on your post like 97 kilos, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm 97 now, but if
you're at 101 or 102.
Yeah, 101 peak bulk, that was about 5K a day, and again, no cardio, just weight training. But I just find my body will shrink. That 69 kilo version just comes back very, very quick if I run and do all that.
You're a born hard gainer, bro.
Yeah. So, but I've realised as much as I'd have been good at running at the time, I was like, I'm not bothered. Like if I could run 5K in 15 minutes, it doesn't interest me that. Whereas some people would be like, that is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want to look good. Do you know what I mean? I want to, obviously being strong to some level is obviously there, but I just wanted to look good. And when I stopped doing running and just, did bodybuilding, I look how I want to look that way. So I've just stuck with that now. So that's
and I think with running as well, running in comparison to bodybuilding training, like when I'm in the gym, strength training, I'm enjoying the session as I'm doing it, because you got a pump on. You look at yourself in the mirror, you're pumped up, like your veins are popping, you feel full, like your skin feels like it's stretching. Whereas with running, as I'm doing it, I freaking hate it. It's only like the run is high that you get after it, which is great. But like the actual process of running, I just hate, bro. Like I'm aching, it's like it's the same thing. I'm trying to listen to a podcast, which I can't really listen to because I'm just listening to the sound of my breath. It's just like, so that's why I'm like starting to transition more back into bodybuilding, bro.
You've got the genetics for it anyway. Like I said, if you actually just do that, pull back on the running a bit. I think Adam and Tyler was saying this and blowing your trumpet the other week, weren't they? They were saying how well, but they're right. If you did that, you'd probably just balloon back up. But it's what you want to do. Do you want to be big or?
That's the thing, bro. Like I got into, because I was feeling like a bit like you, a bit bored. Felt like I'd reached sort of like my maximum potential. But maybe physiologically I hadn't, but that was just the way in my mind I was feeling like, you know, like the resistance training sessions were getting more boring. I just needed more stimulation, because I feel like if you're relatively new to bodybuilding, it's you're still in like that honeymoon phase with it, where it's still like you're still learning about it, it's still all new. You're still maybe like the first few years of progress, those are obviously like the years when you're going to get the most progress, whereas when you've done it for 10 plus years, it does just start to get to a point like, right, well, I've done push-pull legs now for 5 years. I've done like the same sessions, and like you can switch up your sessions, but then you just need that extra stimulation. And for me, I think it was just like the mental feeling of the session. Like now I've dabbled my hand in, you know, doing like high rocks training, doing more endurance and conditioning and running, experiencing like the impact and more of like the injuries. And I have like, you know, there's pros and cons to both. I've experienced like the runner's high, and, you know, I felt good after a run, but then like in the vain aspect of it, then once you start to lose weight, I'm like, oh well, I need to get back more into the gym. And then
I back in the gym and you go on the bench and you're like, why is it
well,
so
yeah, why is it so heavy? Yeah, and like I used to be able to do 100 for 8. What's going on? I can only do 5 to 6, and then that's when I started to get in my own head, and I'm like, even though I'm getting fitter in one aspect, I'm regressing in another. And I just like a hybrid athlete. For me personally, I felt like I was struck down the middle of like regressing in one aspect, but then progressing in another. But maybe but I'm not that bothered about progressing in that area.
This is what I learned. Like I said, I'm not bothered about being good at running. I just wanted to look good. So if high rocks training or running was going to impact that, then that's why I'm not going to do it. But then sometimes I got in my mindset of, I think Jamie mentioned it, and he made me laugh when he goes, these guys think I'm just a gym guy and I'm going to run the treadmill. But sometimes a bit of my ego, got,
like that.
That's a link in my chain, that like, you know, a weak link in my chain, like I can't run that very good. Like, I see people running, I think, I want to be good at that as well. So that's just your ego, like
feeding into you.
Yeah, like, I want to be good at everything, but ultimately you got to decide which one you want the most. And yes, hybrids are a blend of it all, but you know, the kind of counterproductive to where you want to go. If you want to be good, look at the best runners in the world, like the best. Mm-hmm. They're like a pair of lungs and legs, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Like that, and that's why they can run at that speed. Whereas,
and it's like I can still appreciate how ridiculous like Kipchoge and like, you know, these like even like ultramarathon runners, like after like now, like sort of like having that lesson learned and going through the experience, you would like I never used to understand like what like a sick pace was, or what this like half marathon time. Now I understand the figures a lot more now, whereas like I just used to understand, you know, what the best bench was.
Yeah, he's doing 3 plates.
Yeah, for this many reps. Wow. Yeah. But let's talk about, bro, because I know you wanted to. We both wanted to speak a little bit about like the volume of training. You brought it up earlier, like maximum recoverable volume. You know, how you structure your training now in comparison to maybe a few years ago, whereas like because. And when you're so passionate about it, and you know you keep progressing, and again you have that mental feeling from it. Training every single day, it's like you need to train every single day. And even like yesterday, me for example, like I might have overtrained a little bit. Like I'm feeling a little bit sore today because I did like push at the start of the week, and then I needed to do my second push session yesterday. But I was actually still fit. I still had a little bit of DOMS on my chest and shoulder. So it's like, would I tell a client to train that day? Or would I tell them to hold back? I'd probably tell them to, you know, take an extra day and just push your sessions back. But me being me, because I feel like I need to train in my day, I ended up training anyway. Yeah. So like how do you structure your training now in terms of like your overall volume?
Yeah, it's probably the biggest thing I've learned, I would say, in the last few years. Because I love the gym so much, I'd go 7 days a week. Like to me, it's like I said, the highlight of my day. I want to go. If you text me, what are you doing tomorrow, bro? And it's a rest day for me. Do you want to come do chest? Yeah, why not? It's like I would go because I love doing it. So, but I realised after a bit it was actually holding me back, and it was making it more difficult to progress. A lot of the top pros now, I think I've seen Dorian Yates talk about it, Chris Bumstead, you know, doing more is actually, you know, going to be more difficult to recover from. It's going to take away from your other sessions. So that's what I've experimented with a bit, and I've noticed, I feel better, you know, for training. And I think I'm so used to maybe exerting myself till I'm just dead, that if I only do 2 sets, it's like, well, I don't feel...
Doesn't feel like you've got to pump enough, or you've done enough.
Yeah. But then again, I think legs is different, because if you push a set to true failure on legs, I get that feeling.
100%.
But if I do it on like a bench press and I just can't lift it anymore, I I don't know. I feel like, I want to do another set.
Or at least you want to do like a back off.
Yeah.
Like more reps, more volume.
But I've not really done the volume too much. I think it's the amount of days I train. I just find myself going to gym 6 days a week, sometimes 7. Whereas now I think like, I'll try and train 5 max. And then what I'll find is, say if I train, I train Friday and I have Saturday and Sunday off, let's just say. Usually I don't have 2 days in a row, but if I did that, going Monday, I feel mint. Like if I'm that good and I go in Monday, I feel so fresh and I feel stronger. Whereas if like
physically and mentally,
not so much mentally, no, just physically. Just I feel like the weights feel better. But like say if I was doing a rest day today and I went to you, let's go to the gym, and then I'd be doing it and I wouldn't be pushing it. I'm just ticking a box, really. I'm not actually pushing it.
That was sort of like what I was doing yesterday. Yeah. Because you still sort of saw, you're like, right, I don't actually want to like pull and bustle it. I don't want to like tear my pec off.
So you're not pushing the top weight you normally would. No. You're just doing a little bit, and you think, got a bit of a pump and water. And it's like, well, did that actually get you closer to building any muscle? Do you know what I mean? It's
no,
like,
probably not.
Would you have been better having a day off and recovering? So that's the kind of approach that I've learned. But I think you need to earn a right to get there. If you're just starting in the gym now and you're thinking, I think you could get away with doing that, do you know what I mean? And it's only over time, I think you probably could, scale it back a little bit. Because sometimes I think, well, some of the best gains I ever made were like going 5-6 days a week when I was younger. But it's only until I've got older then that isn't working now. So, do you know what I mean? So I don't know if it's a case of once you've been training for 5 years of really intensely, your body just goes, hang on, no, I need you to pull back a bit. But
and for people watching that do want to start to pack on some size, like they're in that reverse diet and the lean bulk, whatever, in a surplus, have there been any like specific advanced approaches? Like I'm talking like supersets, drop sets, giant sets, rest pause sets, pyramid sets, even like German volume training.
Yeah.
Has any of that like stood out to you? Because for me, I said this in the podcast with Jamie, it's supersets and drop sets. Drop sets. I still
you love a drop set and superset. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I that's like a real staple of my training. Like drop sets, scientific literature a little bit to show that it can promote muscle growth. Maybe like you're just overtraining a little bit, but it's an enjoyment factor for me. Supersets, obviously you can do more in a short period of time and get more volume in your session. That's what I put a lot of my early progress down, like when I was like 18, 19, 20. That's what I put that sort of era down to, of like my early progress. So is there anything that stood out to you starting out and trying to build up like your central nervous system, like your mind muscle connection, and get the gains?
Yeah,
is there anything specific?
So I do sometimes do drop sets or supersets. Supersets tend to be sometimes for time purposes as well, but my balance would be your heavy compounds. I'd never drop set on and I'd never superset on. My goal is to lift as heavy as I possibly can on that movement.
I agree.
Let's be specific here. Let's do a chest workout. If I'm going in, I'm doing incline dumbbells. The whole purpose of that set is, right, how many reps can I get on this top weight today? If I need to rest longer to get there, I will do. But it's all about, right, I look at my sheet, right, I have 3 sets today. 2 of them need to be with the 65s and I need to do, X amount of reps with them. That's the goal. And I'm not going to superset or drop set one of the sets to the next one because it'll take away from that set. But then if we're on a pec deck and I'm doing 15 reps, then I think, a drop set on that's quite a good thing to do. So it's picking the movements to do. Imagine doing a drop set on a hack squat. You know what I mean? Like, imagine,
bro,
like you'll screw everywhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like that type of stuff is just like, no, thank you.
When I was younger and I was like experimenting with training, bro, I was a psychopath. I used to do like, if I was doing like barbell squats, I'd lower the weight down, but I would do like German volume training where you do like 10 sets of 10 with maximum 45 to 60 seconds rest.
That's the I've ever had in my life. What for a leg day? I went in with that thing.
You're crawling out.
I did 100 kilos because I'm thinking, I can squat 180.
For 10?
Yeah. Well, no, that's what I said to myself. So
right, okay. Put it too heavy.
It
too
was
ambitious.
180 I can squat. So for a set of 10, 100 kilos, first set, all right. So got to the third, fourth, getting a bit harder. But the next day, the DOMs I've never had them like that in my life.
Yeah.
But then it was off I remember coming back off a holiday and I'd not trained for a week. So I was thinking, is it the inactivity? Is it?
Yeah, like you've had a week off, your body's not used to it. Your first session back, CVT. Bro, we've all been there though, isn't it? Like some of the, like I used to do when I used to do drop sets. Like now I might just do like on an accessory movement, isolation movement. I'll do it as like a last set. I used to do like 3 sets of drop sets. Like I'd sit down, right, drop, rest, 1 minute, and then start again, drop, drop. Like do like 3 sets of that, and it's the amount of volume.
That's far too much for me.
Far too much. And then I was spending like 2 hours in the gym. At the time, like I can't remember me like having those like overtraining symptoms. Really, I didn't feel as though like I was straining or.
No, I think what the difference is you're not recruiting the deep skeletal tissue muscle you want,
like mechanical tension.
Yeah, because obviously you're not lifting heavy enough to recruit it. So
in order to grow, it's just like you're burning more calories.
Yeah, it'll burn more. Like a superset burns more, a drop set will burn more. But then it's like a lateral raise on a shoulder press. Like you're not going to try and do 8 reps as heavy as you can. Or if I did do 8 reps heavy as I can, I don't feel fatigued after it because it's a small movement. So that I would be like, chuck a drop set in with that, and that'll feel good and probably pump more blood into the area, which is what you want. So as a rule of thumb, heavy compounds, keep them as standard.
Yeah.
But isolation exercises, I would drop some, and superset sometimes antagonistic muscles as well. A bi and a tri superset.
Yeah, if you're doing like an arm day.
Yeah.
So on push and pull, those are more agonist, aren't they? Most of the same muscle groups.
But then you probably, I suppose, if you used to do like a bench press into a barbell row, they're 2 heavy movements. You'll probably find you'll gas before you actually.
Again, because it's compounds, isn't it?
Yeah,
you're working multiple muscle groups. Correct, you're going to get more gas.
So I would use that as a rule of thumb, but it's not to say that I've never done a drop set of that, pull-ups into dips or something like that.
Yeah, and it is the same. That's how I structure my sessions. Like if I'm doing a push session, bench press, how heavy can I go? Yeah. Strength work is always a must, like a fundamental. Yeah. But if you want to get bigger and stronger, and then as the session goes on, like I'll start to go like, then I might go into like a Smith machine shoulder press. Then I might superset like a chest press machine with a lat raise, and then do like a dip with potentially like a tricep push down or a frontal raise. So then I might finish on like a skull crusher drop set. So like the structure is the same, but like that's just my enjoyment of training. I like I get more out of breath
because you're fitter as well now. You probably want that feeling of getting it from the weights as well. Do you know what I mean? Like doing supersets now, it's becoming like a bit of a cardio thing as well. That's why some people doing like the hybrid stuff. They want that feeling of like you lay on the floor, gas, like they kill themselves, because that gives them that feeling of like, oh, I've pushed myself. Whereas you could train a client, take them to failure on a bicep curl, put it down, and they can speak fine 30 seconds later. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you put someone through like a hybrid workout, they're like on the floor and they can't speak. So in their mind, I've worked harder. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's like half pump, half gas.
Yeah,
gassed out.
It's how people perceive it and stuff. But I think with the big thing about hybrid now is the class environment. People train together. Bodybuilding's very like you can't do a bodybuilding class, could you? Like if me and you train together, 3's all right, but 4's like, the session's fucked. We can't do 4 people. Yeah. Whereas like
you have to giant set.
Yeah. Whereas hybrid stuff now, everyone can train together, and that's what I think's made it so big. It's because it's group training. It's what girls want to go with the friends, and the day they don't want to go, they're going to go because the friend's going to be there. So I think that's why it's took off so much as well, is because bodybuilding is just like you on your ones really with your headphones in. Like, do you know what I mean?
It's each to their own, and it is a phase. I think over the next few years, people will start to get bored of it. I've done it however many times.
Yeah, whatever you want to do is the right thing for you. Do you know what I mean?
As long as you're moving, you're exercising, physical activity.
But
with volume, so like I wanted to go over like the golden or olden era of bodybuilders, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You've got like Mike Mensa. Who else is there? Jay Cutler, would you class him as like new or no? He's not old, is he?
He's not that old, no.
But that sort of era of bodybuilders would do a lot more volume. If you actually look at the training lab, have you ever seen like Tom Platz?
Yeah,
his leg day. Yeah. Like I've seen people trying it on like TikTok and Instagram and stuff, and like the amount of volume that he would do, bro, is ridiculous. But then you also have like Dorian Yates. He's like old school, but he's now like new school, like new gen, where he is a lot more on like the science base of training. Like you only need to do 1 warm-up set and like 1 or 2 max absolute sets to failure. So what's your standpoint on like structuring sets like across the week in your workout? Would you say it's more about training with intent, or do you think you need more volume as well?
So the easy way I'd explain this is volume is not an indicator of progress. So if that was the case, you'd constantly have to do more and more and more every time you go to the gym. So if you like got used to doing 10 sets and suddenly you need to do 20 sets, and you would just keep going, but obviously it gets to a point where it doesn't benefit you anymore. So it's more about your intensity of that weight. Now, I think you talk about Tom Platz here. He used to train with Arnold, and he said he used to train with Arnold like 6 days a week. And he said when he did that, he got smaller. So I've seen interviews of him talking about how when he pulled back the volume, he saw more results as well. And like I was saying to start, we all love training. All these bodybuilders, they love the gym that much. It's like the highlight of your day, so you want to do it. So you can be optimal, but sometimes it's like, well, I just love going to the gym, so I'm going to do it.
The enjoyment factor.
Yeah,
as well.
so it's trying to find this most optimal stages. But I do think there's such a thing as junk volume where
you're just doing things for the sake of it.
Yeah,
for the
is this going to get you closer to it? And we'll never truly know the exact figures and numbers of like what's the right amount for that person or how much to do. But I do think, because I've experienced that with my own training, doing more doesn't yield more muscle growth. That is 100% true.
Yeah.
But the problem is if you're not pushing to failure in that session, then obviously you're not going to grow. I just try and make things simple, and I try and say this to clients, like your body just adapts to what you put it under. So if you go in the gym and you try and lift 100 kilos on the bench press for 5 reps, and you just keep doing that every time you go in the gym and you're recovering enough, it'll get to a point where you can do 6 or 7 on that. So and then you go up in weight, and it's just that repeated process of your body recovering, adapting to something because you're giving it a need to do it. And then providing you're given enough fuel to recover from, it's just that repeated process.
Manipulating the numbers. If you feel as though you can get an extra rep or 2, then go for the extra rep. If you're aiming for 5, then and you've got 1 or 2 reps in reserve, go for a 6th or a 7th. You get the 6th or a 7th, next time you come to do it, up the load and drop the reps.
I think a big thing, it's easier sometimes to get more reps and more weight, because what I've found is you take a weight off. If you've never held that weight before, you're like, your nervous system's like, I've never felt this weight on my body. Like, I can't even do 1.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you're used to holding that weight and normally 5 is what you get, I think it's easier to progress with doing more repetitions and actually putting more load on the bar. I've noticed that sometimes, like, if I go heavier, I even psych myself out, like, hang on, there's another 20 on here and I can't normally do this. And you're already thinking you can't do it. Whereas if you pick a weight up you can do, and 5's the best you've ever done, and you squeeze another 2 out, that's easier to do in progression rather than weight. I think
it's confidence in yourself as well.
Yeah, but also just like your nerve system's not used to it. Like if I just said to you, like, get under a bar now, what can you squat, and you got under that bar and it was on your body, you just be like, whoa, no, I can't even do
that. Like even just before you even get into the movement,
body,
just
be like, no chance. Whereas if I give you a weight
I
you could
100% get that.
Yeah, if I did a weight you could do, and then you did your 5th rep and you was on your way up, and I said, right, just take a minute now, right, 1 more. That, gun to your head type mentality. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love what Eddie Hall said about his. That I've done that before in gym, and I've like.
Didn't he have to like get into himself? He got to like basically give himself a psychotic break to the point like when he was
pinched the back of his hand. He saw a psychologist, like me and and he's like talking through some dark stuff.
Yeah, like your kid's dying,
I think he tried saying his kid was under a car.
Yeah.
Then when he got interviewed once, he was saying I pulled him off. So I think it was deeper than that. I think it was like some deep, like a man on his kid or something like that. So he created that scenario in his head, and then once that adrenaline's pumping, they managed to do it where when he did that feeling would arise. I don't know how you do it, but that's what he did. But it's like, I always say now, like, if you get yourself that worked up now, you can do so much more than what you could. But the problem is it does really fatigue you. Like, I've done it sometimes where I've got in the gym and I've like got myself to a point where I'm like nearly crying in the set, which is, it sounds funny and I laugh a bit after, but when I lift the weight up, it feels so light. Like my adrenal system must be spiking through the roof. Do you know what I mean? That's why people do like the nose,
the salts,
because it gets you going, and then suddenly you don't even feel the weight. Whereas if you're a bit just talking, you're set, and you get underneath it, oh God, I can't do that.
I can't remember the exact statistic, but it was like for Eddie Hall's lift, was it 500? 500 kilo.
He'd done 416 training. He'd never done 500 in his life.
It was 500,
and he did 500.
And then his nose like burst with blood. And, but I think it was like I can't remember the exact statistic, but it's like 60 to 70%. Yeah, is like even when you feel as though you're at your max, you're actually only at 60 to 70%. Whereas if you got like, if you know your brother or your kid was under a car, and you had to lift that car to save the life, that's going to unlock that extra 30%.
Yeah, and this is like, it's like you get a car and the map's a certain way, but if you remap them, like, they're faster, but it, like, you can't constantly drive it like that because it'll burn it out. So I think it's a safety mechanism in your body. You're not supposed to have access of all your strength all the time, but if you do need it in a stage of like life or death,
fight or flight.
Yeah, it's like I always say, like, you know, if you was, you know, someone had a fight with you, or if it was just like a guy, do you reckon you could beat me in a fight, and you were like, or you had nothing to fight for, you probably would be like shy and be like, oh, you wouldn't want to do it. But if you're out with your missus and someone slapped your missus' ass and you lost your head, do you know what I'm saying though? Like, you lost your head, I would back you to beat him up, because I would like, you wouldn't even be ash. It'd be like you just lose your head.
See red.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I think in that zone, you'd hit you at face, you wouldn't feel it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like you just lose, like your adrenaline would be so high. So it's not dangerous, but you can do it in training. But it's a bit funny, because obviously I've done it in certain sets where I'm like, right, this now, if I don't lift this now, something's going to happen. Start getting tears at my eyes doing the set. I finished the set. Honestly, I've done it. I finished the set and I've got off and I'm just like I'm buggered. Like, I can't even do another set because I'm so, like, you know,
disorientated. Yeah.
So use it every now and then, but it just shows you capable of more with strength. So
yeah, and that sort of leads me on to, bro, like talking with bodybuilders, because you're talking about, like, you know, people seeing red and having that sort of like disorientation, which a lot of bodybuilders, you know, I know they've got that goal in place, but they get that from like PEDs, you know, like they'll take performance enhancing drugs, you know, for their physique, but then, like, I think it's tren, isn't it, which is the main one, which that's is like tren rage or roid rage, but like for people in that circumstance, you know, do you think it's like for the size that they're getting? Because you have, like, you know, in the olden days, again, just going back to like Arnie, they were more I'd say, even like classic bodybuilding, they were more like aesthetics, you know, like slim waist, wide shoulders. But now you have like this era of these mass monsters. How like appealing do you think, like, for bodybuilders to be, you know, for that goal? Do you think it's like necessary for them to do that? Or do you think, you know, for the genetics, they've got chance of them getting like to anywhere near sort of size, you know, for a competition like that? Do you think it's like it's like got to a point where it's too aggressive, like, for some people? Because I've seen stories of I think, was it Nick Walker, someone like that, who was doing like over 10 grams of gear a week.
Yeah, there's some guys out there will just all or nothing. Rich Piano was one in it, like,
and he's dead now.
Yeah, so it's like all or nothing approach. Do whatever it takes. I think most people prefer that's why Sebum's so popular. Everyone wants to look like Sebum. No one wants to look like Nick Walker. No offense, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, but he's just like, wow, like, he's so big or whatever. But the majority of masses people want to be aesthetically pleasing still, don't they? But look, I don't know. I think it's not just so much steroid use, but I think it's, you know, the amount of food that they're having as well, and the growth hormone they're probably taking. I don't really know what they're taking, but yes, I think drugs in the sport is always going to be there. They're in there because they work. You know, the reason they take them is because it will enhance you. And I think what the line that I kind of agree with these days now is it's becoming more apparent now, where I'd never heard of like TRT when I was growing up, but like everyone seems to be doing that now. And in America, there's all these clinics where you can go and get it done. And I think if done right, you can really improve your life and improve your physique as a result of it. So I do think there's a place within fitness for it.
But for the general public that see people like Sebum, Nick Walker, I think, wow. Like, or like, even like back in the day, Arnie, even that era when it was like less researched on, wow, I want to look like this person. And then, you know, some people that are more open about it, you know, like, and then some people will just blindly, right, you know, where can I get test? Where can I get trend? Like, what's the best stack? And then just start blasting without any blood work done. You know, like, what do they do then? Like, do you just think that the only way someone should start is the appropriate way of, you know, getting bloods done, like monitoring like blood pressure, and just monitoring like symptoms throughout and stuff like that?
All the pros have got a doctor on hand. I know Sebum probably had his bloods done every week, you know, or not every week, every month or so to check where he was. So I don't think the pros are not being very educated with their approach, but most guys, like I said, who want to start, they're not going to be doing blood work. They're not going to be, you know, taking more or little is more. They're going to, you know, they're going to think, right, I'll just take more because I want to get there tomorrow. But I think you need to earn your stripes. I think if you've not trained, you know, without any assistance for, you know, a good 5-6 years and maxed out all your diet and stuff, then you shouldn't even be thinking about doing it. But
yeah, you need that base. Like, you need to have already had experience being in like an anabolic state.
Yeah,
don't you?
But it's also like, I think the approach is little is more in it. Do you know what I mean? Like if you just suddenly were 18 now and you started you've never been in the gym and you started taking gear, yes, you've got a short window of how long you could probably take it for. Do you know what I mean? Like Sebum now's coming out of bodybuilding, innit? Probably thinks, well, I don't want to put my health on the line anymore now. You know, I can stay to where I am now and probably just take a bit of TRT or whatever I'm going to do and not push my health in a bad way. But it's a funny topic because yes, they work and there's a reason why they're in the sport because that's there. But I think if you're going to kind of go down that route, do your research, and little is more is the way to go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because then, like, you know, people lose to fertility, people's like free testosterone completely shuts down. Yeah. Like, and then, you know, some people like might start and then they end up on TRT for the rest of their life because they've not done enough research, they've not got the bloods done, and then they've just blindly hopped on, not done any form of like PCT, post-cycle therapy, and then they've just and then, you know, they're not able to have kids, and then the mood, they're gonna have like more depression because the test is so low, you know. So it's like it's doing it in the right manner and carefully. But I feel like a lot of young people that see people like Sebum, the inspiration that they've got, just, and then, you know, like because they've obviously got doctors on hand and they, you know, they'll probably get it every single week or whatever. To the average person, you know, they're not going to do that. They're not going to have the funds and resources to do that. And then them just hopping on can be, like, I think, quite a negative thing for the sport of bodybuilding. Because I've seen like a story of a lad who was only 16, 17. Again, like you said, doesn't have a base of training. You know, he's never really stepped foot into a gym. He's just starting out, but he wants to accelerate his progress. Right, let's get on test. And then he's jumped on and he's taken like progress photos throughout. His test has plummeted, and but because he's not done enough experience in the gym, he might have got a few gains, but there wasn't really any difference in his before and after. And like his nutrition wasn't right throughout because, again, he's never done a diet before. So it's like you have to have all the other, even when I was young, when I was because my dad used to be a bodybuilder and he'd done like a stint of testosterone and Dianabol. He did like a 12-week cycle. I can't remember how old I was, but he went from like 15 stone to 19 stone at the time.
Because he probably had everything else. He had the diet.
Yeah, and he'd been training already for like 10, 15 years. So, you know, and he'd dieted, he knew exactly what he was doing. But for going back to it, like my mindset at the time was I didn't sort of think about the other things that have to go into it. I just thought, like, you take this injection, then all of a sudden you blow up, like Michelin Man.
That's the problem, though, isn't it? That's what people see. Like, that's the answer, and they'll probably, if they took it, they realise, well, hang on, why do I look like these guys after taking it for 16 weeks or whatever? So, yeah, do your research if you ever wanted to go down that route. Obviously, it's a tricky subject because it's illegal, but then it's not illegal to possess. It's a funny story in the UK, isn't it, to how you would go about it anyway. But I think, you know, if you're just starting out in the gym, like, don't even think about it. Like, honestly, why would you even think about it? And I think if you get to later life where you've been training a long time, the TRT route is probably the first thing to go.
Yeah.
You know, and there's more and more people talking about it now. Like, actually saying, oh yeah, I do this and I got this done and I've had this kind of stuff done. But realise that if you are going down that route, it might be a lifestyle choice forever. Do you know what I mean? But that's not to say it has to be. I know plenty of guys who personally have done that, come off it, and
return fine.
Return fine.
Again, if they've done it right, you know, and
you just need to be smart what you're doing. The worst thing is like, the guy in the gym. There's a guy in the gym I saw the other week, and I won't say who is anything, but he was like, oh yeah, I'm taking all this tren and stuff. I was taking that. And then I just stopped taking it all, but I got really bad gyno. I was like, well, when you stopped taking it, did you Did you do your bloods, or did you do any teeth? No, I just took it for a bit and then stopped. And it's that kind of scenario which I think like, oh,
Again, it's just like bro science,
yeah, I'm
uneducated.
just like, oh, you're messing with your hormones here, mate. What
Yeah,
are you doing?
yeah.
So, yeah.
But though people will learn eventually, won't they? Well, that's where we have conversations like this, so they don't make people
more and more
mistakes.
people talking about it. This is a good thing now. When I was growing up,
It wasn't really,
no
yeah.
one
It's
speaks
because
about
there
it.
wasn't enough research.
Everyone, if you ask somebody that you're on something, no one. But now it's like kind of cool to talk about it, and there's people making a career out of giving advice and being so open about it. And I think the Trent twins now, they're like
Big, yeah, because of their like,
but they're big on the back of like, we'll do whatever it takes, we'll take the stuff.
and like that trend rage.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So people are just talking about it a lot more than they were. Whereas I think when I grew up, I think Ryan Terry's, I think asked him, or he would swear natural all the time, Ryan Terry. So I'm growing up thinking, mate, he's got some good genetics if he's natural. And now he obviously admits that he takes it now. But at the time, back then, I think it's because he's sponsored by USN, so he can't say he's on stuff. And whereas now people are actually like being more open, which I do appreciate. Whereas when you're younger, there's nothing worse than seeing someone and they're saying they're natural and they're not, and you're thinking, well, that's attainable. I think that's when it's a bit shady. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you are going to take something, just be honest with what you've done, so that way you're not misleading people.
I agree, bro. I agree.
On that topic, then, are we both joining on it?
Why not, mate? Why not? I need some quick gains.
Yeah.
Feel like I've not progressed in a while. Right. Is there anything you wanted to go over, bro, whilst you're on?
No, I mean,
no. I always put people on the spot.
Yeah, no, I think just to recap my situation. Yeah, I think footballer was the dream, was the goal. Did work out. I have no regrets. It led me to do what I do now in the fitness space. I couldn't see myself doing anything else now. If you are an online, or if you are a PT and you're thinking about the online space, I would highly recommend going into that realm. You'll have a better lifestyle. You'll probably make more money. You'll get better results, which will obviously make you more money as well. So I think the online PT world now, and obviously the Physique Academy role that we do has been really good for me personally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, wonderful, mate. There's not really anything else that I need to go over. I feel like we've had a good chat. I like to do a bit of a quick fire Q&A, bro. I don't want to, because I always do this, and then we end up speaking for like another 15 minutes.
How long have we gone for now?
About an hour and 20 minutes, I think. Right. Is that right, Meg? Yeah. So, what's your biggest gym pet peeve? Once he's finished having a sip.
Pet peeve.
I know mine is. Mushroom heads sat around the bench.
No, I think mine would be half reppers.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like loading up a machine, half repping it. I don't mind a grunt every now and then, but a grunt on your first rep's a bit annoying.
Yeah.
A grunt on your like 7th and 8th, I'll take. But if you're like grunting on your first rep, then I'm like, come on, mate, you don't need grunt on your first one. But yeah people are doing really short ranges of motion with too much weight. That would be my pet peeve.
Gotcha. What's one exercise you couldn't live without?
Couldn't live without. Oh, wow. That is well difficult, because I'm trying to think logically, like, would all my other muscle groups disappear or not? But I think one I couldn't live without would be an inclined chest press.
Inclined chest press. Dumbbells or barbells?
Dumbbells, yeah. I don't do any barbell work anymore now.
Favourite body part to train?
I want to say legs, but it's only because I feel like that's like the one that you feel the most on. But I think from a vanity aspect, a juicy arm workout, you can't beat that.
Yeah, I agree. Bit of a treat for the weekend.
Yeah.
Morning or evening training?
Morning now.
Morning now, right? I'm a bit of a mix, to be honest.
Now, what do you do about pre-workout in the evening?
Very true. I used to be up like for hours because I take it, and then
done gym at 5. I sat in bed at night going, "What's going on with me here?" Like,
what supplement do you swear by?
Is whey protein a supplement or is it a food?
Yeah, any supplement, bro.
Yeah, pre-workout or whey protein. They're the two things I religiously take.
Yeah, same here. Dream gym to train in. Thinking like for me, it'd be Gold's or.
Well, I went to Binus in Dubai.
I've been there.
I've been there. That was good. Do you know what I would like? But I think it's gone now. I wouldn't have mind going in that old Dorian Yates gym. Do you know that old temple gym
In Birmingham.
Yeah, but it's not there now. I don't think.
not?
I don't think so. The Ultraflex ones in the UK are probably among
Yeah,
the best
Rotherham.
at the moment. I've not ventured that far. I know you went to Dedicated, didn't you?
Dedicated's good. I've been to both.
Yeah. But yeah, where's there abroad? There must be an abroad. Yeah, I mean, probably
The best one I think I've been to that beats Binus is the one in Marbella, Real Club Padel.
Yeah,
which is the outdoor one.
But I think because the amount of people I've watched on videos training there, I'd probably say the Gold's Gym.
Yeah,
that one.
That's one that I really want to go to.
I've seen so many videos of people training there.
Yeah. But that's it, bro. I mean, it's been a good chat. We've been chatting for a while. Thanks for coming on. Next guest at the moment, as it stands, I've got Nicola on the 4th of April. There might be someone in between that. Neil, head coach, is looking at coming on at some point as well. But nice one for coming on, brother. Thanks for coming down. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.